Check 1, 2. Return to people.
What's happening, everybody? We are back with another Return to People episode. Today's guest is the kind of leader who turned purpose into a business model. He has spent nearly 3 decades in strategy, sales, and digital marketing, from leading big media rollouts across Canada to helping hundreds of mission-driven organizations sharpen their message and scale their impact. He is now the founder and CEO of Karmadharma. They are a B Corp certified agency that blends strategy, creative, and culture building with a simple belief. When you put your people first, the results take care of themselves. Listeners and viewers, please welcome Peter Georgariou.
Let's go, Peter! We love you, Peter! Woo!
Nice to see you, man. Settle down, studio audience. Settle down. Sorry. They get crazy here, Peter. The studio audience is intense.
Oh my God.
Thank you for joining us, man. How you been?
I've been good, dude. It's great to see you. Thanks for having me. I don't know how I'm going to follow that energy on a Friday afternoon, but this is great.
Oh, sir, you got all the energy. What are you talking about? You got the swag, you got the energy. You're ready to go. You're centered. I feel it through the screen. Peter, we've had a chance to meet each other in person, and definitely meeting in person. I may be a remote work advocate, but meeting in person, there's something there, and had a great time hanging out with you. And that's why you're on this show, because you have some good things to say. But before we get into all the business stuff, who is Peter Georgariou? Who is he? What does he do? Where are you from? Where are you right now? Like, let us know. What are you all about, Peter?
My Lord. So I'm actually born in the US, spent my first 9.5 years there, but my parents got divorced. My mother remarried a Canadian lawyer, and I moved to Montreal. And I've been living in Canada.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Yeah, bonjour. I lived in Montreal for 20 years. I'm in Ottawa now, Kaleem. So I'm the last man standing in Canada. Spent most of my life up here. All my family's in Florida. I am married to a spectacular woman for the last 22 years and have 2 lovely daughters, 18 and 16, who keep me very humble and apparently very cringy on the regular. I took a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science at McGill in Montreal because my stepfather wanted me to be a lawyer, which I did not want to do. And sadly, a little too deep for a Friday, but that was in the middle of a 10-year addiction period of my life that I was in, and I dropped out of school. And then met my wife, who loved me but didn't want to be in a 3-way relationship with me and my addiction. So I quit, and she said, "You're an idiot. You need to go finish your degree," to which I did 5 years later. And when our girls...
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, man. Thank you, dude.
For both things, sobriety and graduating. Both of those are not easy things.
Agree on both fronts, my friend. And then in my mid-30s, I went back to get an executive MBA. My daughters were 1 and 3 at the time, and I thought that was the way to climb the corporate ladder. So I got an MBA, to which I love. Didn't help me with the corporate ladder, but I gained a lot of confidence in myself. And at the end of my corporate career, when I started Karmadharma, I would say the fundamentals of at least understanding the basics of finance and business, while I couldn't recite the textbooks, Kaleem, has served me well.
I'm a big believer in higher education. I think the experience provides the value. None of us can recite any of the textbooks, but I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be talking to you today if I didn't go outside of my norms. You know? So kudos to you. So Karmadharma. Love the name.
Thank you.
Love the name.
Thank you.
Love the name.
Thank you.
First time I saw it, I was like, yeah, I like who they are. I didn't even read what you did, and I just knew that it was good stuff. So great name, but what are the main challenges that you all face? What is it that you all do, and how do you help your clients?
We sort of jokingly call ourselves a Deloitte for do-gooders. So as a B Corp, helping purpose-driven organizations. We work in three different fronts. One is strategic planning and strategy. For organizations, our middle pillar is people and culture. As we are slowly, seemingly breaking somewhat as a species, we like to go help them better communicate and find meaning and purpose. And then on the right side of the ledger, we're a full-service marketing agency, which was what we were born out of when I started it. But we've broadened our scope on what we offer and how we try and serve.
It's great. Now, you just kind of threw that out there real quick that you said, you are a certified B Corp.
Yep.
Can you explain to us all what that is? I mean, I've heard about it, kind of seen it on a few different packages, this B in a circle.
Yeah,
What the hell is it, Peter?
It is a certification, kind of,
Okay.
if ISO had a do-gooder certification, it would be that. And it's a standard that holds organizations to the highest level of social and environmental impact. You have to take a pledge to be beyond shareholder value, that you're looking to create value for all your stakeholders, whether that's your team, your community, your partner, your staff, the planet. And so I've changed my articles of incorporation to say, yes, I'm still for profit because you can't be a charity B Corp, but I'm actually for a lot more than just that. So if I'm making decisions that aren't always optimized for shareholder value, my shareholders, if I had any, couldn't come after me. So I would argue, I don't know, I haven't thought about it like this, like a marriage certificate. I've been married for 22 years. Would I love my wife the same without a marriage certificate? Yes. The fact that we made it official, we're committed, I'm wearing the ring, I'm taken, I'm proud to be taken.
Yeah.
And I think the B Corp certification in the moments, Kaleem, when things are hard and you could go the easy way, just reminds you of what you've committed to, the community you've committed to, the impact you're committed to, and to hold you to that higher standard is important. Do we need it to do the work we do? No. Does it feel good to be part of that community and be held to a standard that stretches us a little bit? Hell yes.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. And we kind of chatted about this before, and yes, the certification's great. I remember you talking about, it's cool. Most people don't know what it is, so thank you for sharing that. But being around the people who also care about making money, I think there's a huge point that I think B Lab, if you're hearing this, maybe you could steal some of my marketing ideas, but we are not a charity.
No.
That's actually a very important point that you're making. You're not a charity. You're in a business to make money, but you also want to do good in society. So super cool. Was there any specific reason, Peter? Like, was there a reason? Was there something driving you to become certified? What was the reason for that?
I think I always knew I wanted to make an impact, Kaleem, with Karmadharma. And it was a friend of mine who was and is a B Corp said, Peter, you should go take the assessment. Even if you don't do it, he's like, it's sort of existential. And you go through this series of questions. You're not committed to anything. You just go through these questions and it's essentially asking you, well, how exactly do you and your organization want to show up in the world? And man, it had shit in there that I'd never seen on greenhouse gas. And did you know this, and a policy for your suppliers and governance and transparency. And I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know half of this stuff existed. And I can't do it all at once, but it did show me, I don't want to call it the best way, but I really do sort of still think it's the gold standard of impact. Is it perfect? No. Is anybody? No. But they have put so much work into this standard about what is best practice around the world. If you really are committed to being purpose-driven, this is how you can go about it. And so as I went through the assessment, well, I was hella intimidated, one. But B, I was like, yeah, no, this is for us.
Because it's not easy.
Dude, it's not easy. And it takes a ton of work. And you're trying to evaluate how you're showing up today, how you want to show up tomorrow. Like, what sort of policies do you have in place? Anything from whistleblower to supplier selection to living wage policies to healthcare to, and you're saying, man, you know what? If I boil it down, Kaleem, I left that assessment going, I can do better. I can do better. We can do better. And so I was like, I'm in, we're going to go through it. It's a lot of work and it took us a year to go through it. It's not like you call the Better Business Bureau, you pay them $50 to get a sticker for your door. You have to go through the process. You have an analyst. And so I find B Lab gets a bit of heat these days, but I think when you're at the the tip of the spear of trying to do good. There's always someone saying you could be doing it different or better. But for me, these are
Yeah,
Monday
yeah.
morning quarterbacks bitching. What are they doing? Not much from what I've seen so far. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm just saying most people who are complaining are not in the arena, so they should pipe down.
Fire is what we call that, Peter, and bars. Tell them, pipe down. You're not in the arena, pipe down. Monday morning quarterback, take that. I love it, Peter. I love it. Okay, so now you're saving the world. And by the way, I got to step my game up because I thought, I've done a ton of good stuff. And I was like, I hung out with y'all. I was like, okay, we got to figure some stuff out. Out to workplace flexibility. Now on to workplace flexibility. When did Karmadharma make the decision to kind of embrace remote work and hybrid work? And what sparked the shift? So kind of give me the timeline. Like, when did you go all in?
March 13, 2020. That day. Yeah. So like for real, I think us and the rest of the world, at the time we were 7 people in a small office here coming to work every day, and COVID hits and real life happens and people get sent home. And, we lost over 2/3 of our business from March to April of that year as the world shut down and as a lot of industries did. And we had to figure out how we're going to move forward. And we all had laptops, and we were very fortunate that we are white collar workers and we're not restaurants or the tourism industry and these types of things, Kaleem. But yeah, we were forced into it like most of the world.
So just to clarify, prior to, as the leader of the organization, you are, maybe even today, kind of a believer of being in person. I mean,
Dude, it is so funny you say that, man.
it's okay because, like, I love it. I love it having people on the show that have opinions that don't necessarily agree with mine. But, like, what was your model and belief before the pandemic?
Yeah, if I look back now, because I have a lot of thoughts on my own journey and my beliefs on this, Gleam, that you show up. If you're at 9:02, you're a slacker. And, I'm semi kidding,
That's how we grew.
but
That's how we
dude,
grew up, though. I mean,
I am
what
51
do you
years
mean?
old. That my entire life is you show up to work and that's how it goes. And, there's calling in sick. And Ben, we grew up with the judgment of the week and burnout is for the weak. And what do
Yep.
you mean you need a
Yep.
mental health day? What is that crap? And then, like there's so much of that, at least in my generation, to now where
100%.
I have incredible team members who are born, at 51. Our youngest team member is born in 2001. She's 24. She's a firecracker of a human. And ironically, when she came into work here a couple of years back, she had gone through college in COVID and was scared of being out in public and in the workplace because she had just been home for her college career. And so we had like this
Never thought
crazy,
of that.
this reverse thing that she's like, no, I got to come back to a public workplace. And so and she would even tell you, not fully rational. It was like, oh my God, I need to re-socialize myself to being in a workplace. And we are hybrid today, and we'll talk about that. But I'm quite aware of, I think, my biases and prejudices about the workplace and aware of my own work style preferences. But apparently, if I love techno music, Liam, doesn't mean everybody loves techno music. I know that's crazy, but it could be true.
I mean, the fact that if you don't like techno music, you've never been to a party. I mean, let's be honest. At least until 5 a.m. You know what I mean? At least until that. But, Peter, what you're saying, there's so much good to that as far as you having the ability to reflect, and that shows unbelievable leadership. I think the people we've had on the shows and people we've talked to who are succeeding right now with workplace flexibility took a step back and did some reflection for themselves and really looked at, geez, just because I prefer one way doesn't necessarily mean the rest of the team works that way, and there may be some advantages. So kudos to you, man. Kudos to you for doing that and making the shift. I mean,
Thank you.
pandemic was awful.
Sure.
It was awful.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the worst things in our generation, I would say.
Yep.
But there was some education that we could all learn from it. So kudos to you. So your hybrid organization, roughly how many employees, just so people have a vague idea, like, and where's everyone located? Like where is it?
So we're 20 full-time with about another 15 contractors and partners. The
Okay.
bulk of our team is in Ottawa. We have a small team in Montreal. We have a large partner in Philadelphia and a colleague with a joint venture partner in Atlanta.
That's awesome. So yeah, you definitely kind of picked it up. So you decide because the pandemic happens, you have laptops, you have to figure this thing out. It wasn't remote by intent. It was remote by, pandemic, crisis, remote by crisis. So looking at kind of the whole employee experience from, then until today, what has been, some of your biggest challenges?
I think I still struggle with this question, and I think you're probably one of the best positioned people to answer it is my belief of how do you continue to build and nourish culture in a hybrid work setting? And so, like, how do you build culture
It's
when
the
you're not
toughest.
in person? And how do you build culture with a young generation who doesn't want to bother you and they're afraid to send you that Slack message to see if they can talk to you and interrupt your day? And how do you learn the behaviors that are accepted here? Because if you think about like culture
Yeah.
is here's what we believe and here's what is accepted or not accepted behavior here. And doing that in a remote environment is not impossible. It just takes longer, harder to pick up learned behavior. Serendipity needs to be manufactured. So I think the challenges are maintaining, building, strengthening culture would be the one I would still bring up. I think I've have this philosophy that we hire and treat people like adults, and I'm not going to policy them into submission. And so if I trust that they're going to be responsible adults, maybe they're just going to do their job. And eventually, if we see they're not delivering the work, you're going to see they're not doing the work. Because I don't really get into the debate of remote equals lazy a la Elon Musk. I don't hold that belief. So yeah, I think we're doing an okay job, Kaleem. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I think we've been really,
Yeah.
really doubling down on how do we maintain and build culture through a hybrid reality.
Yeah. And Peter, you're probably in the 80% of the people who have talked about the challenges. Almost everyone that comes on the show talks about that piece of it
Yeah.
because when you are in person, like as we talked about earlier, there is a magic that you can't replicate. You don't know what it is. You can't see it. You can't touch it. You can't even quantify it, but there is something there. And, one of the things that I've tried to articulate is like, it's okay because actually you can't create that thing. So, you can create pieces of it, but not that magic that we're talking about. And I think the magic is what we all kind of grew up with and what we experience in the physical workplace. And as a leader, we miss that magic. And yes, there are things you can do, but I always say don't crush yourself trying to find the magic because you can't. You have to be intentional and bring people together at some point if you can afford it. And I know that's a big challenge. So, what are some things you've tried to do? What are some things that you've tried to do to kind of build some of that connection that you were talking about, some of
Yeah.
that culture?
I think we do some, well, standard, a big word. We have an annual retreat, Kaleem. So we get everybody in person at least once a year.
Unbelievable.
And people even from our US team and from the Montreal team get together and hang out a couple nights we rent some massive ass Airbnb and just connect and learn together and break bread together. That's one. Something we put in the book since COVID and hasn't left. And you could not tie any direct productivity or revenue to what I'm about to say.
Perfect.
But every Monday morning, we start at 9 o'clock. We have our gratitude call. So everybody comes on the call, says one thing they're grateful for. And that ends up often being about what's happened on their weekend and their personal life or their family, or could be about their team members or whatever. But it's just a moment of anchoring together and a little bit of personal share. And then on Friday mornings, we end every week with a what went well, what needs work call. So they'll talk about what went well this week and what's one thing I've either what needs work, something I need to be working on personally or changing, or something I learned this week. And then that's followed by a little show and tell on some project we're working on if we've got something to share. But this creation of like this anchoring and gratitude to start and this acknowledgement of a growth mindset culture. Hey, this went great and this is still dogging me, or I'm still tripping up here, or this pattern's like still tripping me up in my shit. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, we're all human and we're in this together. And some of the what needs work can be, I just need more sleep. Some of it, I'm still tripping up on my notification. Some of it is like, I was too nervous to follow up with the client. Some, it could be like all sorts of stuff, but just like it makes everybody very, very real and vulnerable in a supportive manner. As much as I keep thinking, man, people are like, fewer meetings. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but these two have been anchor points to both our week and our ability to connect across different markets on a weekly basis.
We're definitely stealing this. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm definitely taking this for sure, because I love the book end of the week, the ends, and even the concept of how you did. Where'd you get this from, Peter?
It was ours.
No way. You came up with this yourself?
Well, I didn't come up with gratitude. I didn't invent gratitude. Fine. I didn't invent gratitude. But both of those concepts, the what went well and what needs work, I heard actually through this program. I've been following a gentleman called Brian Johnson on an organization called Heroic it's changed names a few times, but for a decade. But it was all part of this win or learn philosophy. And it's in the science of behavior. I think it's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, where you're talking about like, how can I make changes and acknowledge what's going well? So, hey, create a celebration moment, which I used to be terrible at. I'm a terrible celebrator. I'm all the what needs work and what needs fixing. So it creates this micro moment of celebration personally and for the firm, and an ability to shout out your colleagues. And then what needs work is an admittance that you're never arrived. So that goes back to Buddhist philosophy of, show up with a beginner's mind from the beginning. So it's pulling these.
You're a Buddhist?
Well, am I a Buddhist? I practice Buddhist philosophy, but am I a Buddhist is a big word.
I am sorry. By the way, to all the Buddhists out there, my bad. I knew better than that. I just got excited. Okay. I just got excited. I knew that there was something, sir. Karma, Dharma.
Yes.
I mean, I should have known better. And then the fact of how you are approaching your thoughts are amazing.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. I mean, because like what the thing does at the beginning, gratitude, you want to start the week with something positive. I mean, what a great way to start it off, and what you're thankful for. And then at the end, being vulnerable. To me, these two meetings, can't cancel them.
No.
Sorry, team.
Can't cancel.
Sorry, Karmadharma.
Agreed.
Can't cancel those meetings. Those are staying on the calendar. Really cool thing, man. Congrats.
Thanks, dude.
That's a good one.
Appreciate it.
And the annual retreat, obviously, that's great. But then you just threw out there real quick, which I also think is a really, really great way to give your team some freedom to let them choose. But you said you let the teams get together and you just rent a huge Airbnb, and like there's a little bit of work when they're getting together. What's the main priority? It's not 100% work. I'm sure there's a little bit going on, but
literally our theme is connection and clarity. And so it's like, hey, how can I connect and learn about my colleagues and what's going on, and actually connect on the fact that we work through some psychographic profile work about different working styles and learning styles. So I'm really like getting to learn about them. And then the clarity piece is, hey, everybody, what are we looking to create? What does next year look like? How can we put in a co-created plan together for that? And put that in place so everybody is on the same page about what we're trying to achieve, why we're trying to achieve it, where we're trying to go. And they have, skin in the game that they've got to contribute to that plan. It's not like, me arriving from the ivory tower and thou shalt do this next year. So we've got them integrated into our strategic planning process. So they have this word about, hey, here's how I can contribute to the overall mission. We can come up with how we think we should measure success. But at the same time, the most important shit in life you can't measure, like love and compassion and generosity. And so all the stuff that, the dashboard can't measure still needs to be talked about and made space for. And we can measure progress on leads and all the stuff you may want to do. But I think like there's this opportunity to re-anchor in our shared humanity and human connection, which is possible to do hybrid, but it can be transformative in person when you're there. And we can set sail in the same spot so we know where we're headed in the following year.
So you're a B Corp. So you say help and save the world, A.
Trying.
You're helping, you literally bring your people together so that they can enjoy the stuff that's not in the dashboard. Check. And then you do measure the stuff in the dashboard because, I mean, you got to have productivity. So it's not like we're all just over here, oh, we don't care about the work. You actually do. Fascinating. So I got to ask you, I mean, I have a feeling of what I feel like your answer could be for the things, your biggest successes in the remote employee experience, but I'm just curious, what would you pick for your biggest success?
I thought about that. And perhaps it is the culture that I think maybe.
What I was gonna say engage. So you basically, I was gonna say, okay, from what I've heard,
Yes,
sir,
yes.
your biggest challenge is engagement and culture, but your biggest success is also engagement and culture.
Well, Kaleem, I've spent so much time holding space for the question of how do I scale culture? How do I scale shared values? And so while it remains the challenge, I'm also, I guess, arriving with a ton of intentionality about, hey, do we keep that meeting or not keep the meeting? Like I've thought about that a lot. Hey, my gratitude. And like every time I come back to it, I'm like, no, man, meetings are still important and zero productivity, zero dashboard, other than I got people showing up when they say they're going to show up. Like, it probably, I don't measure it like this, Kaleem, but there's, I don't have people quiet quitting on us. I don't have presenteeism, absenteeism and all, right? So like there's a trickle down effect that no one in the world will be able to give me a direct correlation to or direct causation. But I can certainly see that the investments in this time and training and care and one-on-one sessions once a month. And I show up in my one-on-one sessions with like, yo, how you doing? And yeah, we'll take a look at your dashboard for 5 minutes, but like, it's like this check-in and it's not like, yo, how you doing? It's like, how you doing? I see you. And I'm waiting for a real answer. If you try and bullshit me about and I'm like, and they're looking down and I'm like, hey, I'm up over here. And I'm so sitting that moment, that hour of presence with it all is like, so yeah, it's a challenge, but perhaps I have some healthy paranoia about it, Kaleem. And so I intentionally want to continue to invest. And it's way overused that the culture eats strategy for breakfast. But I see, like, even talking to our shared friend, Nathan, there's a lot of shops that have closed this year. It's been tough in the economy.
Yeah.
You're seeing people falling. You're seeing losing staff. And I'm in a professional services business. All I got's people and a few laptops. The rest is bullshit. So yes to challenge and to success. And it's extremely humbling, right? Because as I start to become more aware of my own biases and the stories I tell myself about the world and life, the more I start to see like, oh my God, I think I'm inserting perhaps my own fear and desperation. I need to pull back. Or like it's just this fascinating, in my case, it's like for those who have kids, is like you learn, everybody says the cliche, you learn so much through your kids, but all of a sudden you have like this mirror to how you're showing up with another human who's just listening to everything you got to say, good or bad, and sort of having a team and a culture is the same. You're like, oof, yeah, I didn't live up to my standard in that moment. I'm like, God damn. And I own that. I'm like, hey guys, I fell short of my own expectations of myself this week and I apologize, And so it's this opportunity for sure.
You're out there, you're running a business, rewind this shit. There's some good stuff in here. So if you're going to get in your DeLorean, you're going to get in your time machine, sir, you're going to go back. You're going to go back to when you first had the concept and the idea to start Karmadharma. What piece of advice would you give to yourself around this idea of culture and the employee experience? What would you tell yourself?
I would say stop looking out into the world for all the frameworks and the how-tos and the books, and trust the wisdom that has always been within you and lead from there.
From a person who has crazy imposter syndrome, I needed to hear that, sir.
Oh, dude, me too, man. Me too.
People are always like, you don't have imposter syndrome. You can get up there and talk to anybody. Yeah, I do. There's this little dude right here sitting there saying, you can't get up on that stage. You can't talk to Peter. Look what he's done. There's all sorts of those. So that's a really great piece of advice, man. That's a really great piece of advice. So, sir, if people want to learn more about how you're doing culture, learn more about being a B Corp, learn more about you as Peter, where can our listeners and viewers find you on the interwebs?
They can send me an email, peter@karmadharma.ca, Karmad as in dad, HARMA.ca. That's a lot of A's. I apologize. You can go to our website. My team has me on a whole whack of social media channels that make me feel incredibly awkward and cringy, but pretty much all of them I'm out there with small nuggets of wisdom. Find me on LinkedIn. I am the only Peter Georgariou on there. That's Georgariou if you're trying to spell that craziness. Yeah, and reach out anytime. I make time to grab coffee and pay it forward with whoever reaches out.
That's awesome. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Really, some really great nuggets here. Listeners and viewers, thank you all for joining us once again. Please be safe out there. We'll all talk to you all soon. Peace.